What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I'm here to have a chat with y'all about Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 13, Pabu. But first up, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's so much amazing content on my channel right now, you guys. We're currently breaking down two different Star Wars shows between Bad Batch and The Mandalorian, so I highly recommend that y'all be checking out those videos if you haven't yet. Make sure to check out my Mandalorian discussion from yesterday. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel before the end of this year. If we can do that, we will do a watch party live stream of an entire Star Wars trilogy. Also, if you guys could, head over to my other YouTube channel called Top 10 Character Moments. I'm trying to reach 150 subscribers right now, you guys. We're over halfway there. So if we can get to 150 subscribers, that would be awesome. Subscribing to my channels is free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps to support me as a content creator. Thanks, guys. All right, you guys, let's start talking about this episode. Well, before that, let me kind of break down some stuff that happened before that, right? So I get done watching this episode, and I ended up enjoying it, right? I had my thoughts on it and everything, and I came out and I was like, all right, I'm prepared for, all the things that I'm ready to talk about today. And then I give my brother a call, because usually what'll happen is, right, like I'll see an episode, and then I'll have a little bit of a chat about it with my brother, and just kind of some things that I, will probably end up saying here on the channel as well. He's like, dude, you need to check out Star Wars Theories live stream. And he said, like, everybody is shitting on this episode. And I'm a big fan of Star Wars Theory, you guys. So, like, I'll go and I'll watch his live streams, like his watch party live streams, usually, like, after I'm done, like, recording and editing and filming all my stuff. But I'm like, all right, I'm very curious on, like, the feedback for this episode and what Star Wars fans are saying about it. And yeah, I go and I watch his video, and a lot of the stuff it's very negative, right? But, like, obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, and the opinions of everybody on that live stream was that they didn't like the episode. And I gotta admit, man, shout out to Star Wars Theory's live chat, because there were a lot of jokes and stuff that they were making, and it actually got me to laugh too. A lot of stuff that was very funny. And even as someone who, in my opinion, again, I enjoyed this episode, I was able to take a lot of humor in the things that they were saying. I did find it funny. So shout out to you guys over there. And yeah, so I kind of figured today what I'm gonna do, you guys, is it's not necessarily gonna be like, oh, I liked this episode and you're wrong for not liking this episode. That's never been what I'm about here on this channel. What I am going to do, though, however, is just simply talk about, hey, these are the things that I liked about this episode, and this is why I didn't think it was that bad. Everyone's entitled to have their own opinions. You're allowed to like what you want and allowed to dislike what you want. And I understand full well what it's like to be in the minority when it comes to things. And if y'all don't believe me, just go check out every single one of my Andor videos, because I'm clearly in the minority when it comes to my opinions on that show. Just look at all my comment sections. So yeah, well, it was fun to, sit there and listen to some people, joke around about the episode and stuff. And like I said, I did find it very funny. I do want to talk about some things that, truthfully, I did enjoy about this episode, and things that I felt maybe, obviously this wasn't a big, like, oh, this is a, epic story changing, character development episode, but there were elements in this episode that I really did enjoy. And I will admit, when I first clicked on the episode and I saw, like, the profile pic had the pirate lady on it, and I'm already forgetting her name, but I saw that and I'm like, oh no. Like, I was already setting myself up to not like this episode just based on that profile pic, because the last time we saw this pirate lady in a Bad Batch episode, that episode completely sucked. So some of the things that I really enjoyed about this episode, first off, the music. I really thought that the music really set a different tone from what we're normally used to with the Bad Batch, and I think, honestly, maybe it's just because I'm a huge fan of Star Wars music, you guys, but, like, a lot of the themes in this episode, it felt very peaceful, very calm. Being able to see Omega hang out with a kid her age, because that was, like, one of the big things about this episode, right? Like, they have that mission at the beginning, which I found very funny, especially when the dude was like, you should have brought more muscle, and Wrecker was like, she did. I'm like, that's my freaking guy right there. I'm like, come on, Wrecker. I need you to stand out more in this season because you have not had that many moments to shine, my man. And then I found it funny, Tech was on the ship playing cards and he's like, I'm playing against myself because it's the only time I actually get a challenge, which I found very funny. But getting back to the point, the pirate lady was saying that Omega needed friends her own age because she's constantly, right, like on the run. She's surrounded by people that are a lot older than her. She needs friends her own age. So that's where we come across Pabu. We end up meeting the mayor of Pabu. What's his name? Shep Hazard, I believe, which at first I thought they kept saying chef, and it sounded like it. Every time I heard his name, I just kept hearing chef, not Shep. But then Wrecker, another line that got me of Wrecker's was, looks like you got some competition, talking to Tech, because clearly the pirate lady has a thing for Tech. And Tech, seemingly in this episode, kind of showed that he kind of had a thing for her too. And we get to meet his daughter, Liana. I wrote down in my notes, all right, here's Omega's friend. Here we go. I know where this is going. And so, yeah, they get to spend some time together, which is very cool. We get to see Omega smiling a lot, and Tech even references this. He's like, I haven't seen her laugh like that in some time. And even just seeing, like, other members of the Bad Batch smile and having a good time. Like, Hunter seemed like he was having a good time for a while. Wrecker was definitely having a good time. He's like, oh, man, I've never felt this full before. And it was a very different episode, you know? Like, again, was this, like, a top 5 episode? No. Was it a top 10 episode? No. But for what it's worth, I thought this was a decent to good episode. It was nothing great, but it was, in my opinion, I don't think it was necessarily anything terrible either. Like if I was ranking this out of 10, I wouldn't give it like, you know, a 10 or a 9 or even an 8 or something like that. I mean, honestly, I think this episode I'd probably give like a 5 or a 6. Like it was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But I do encourage you guys, like for those people who did like it, I want to know why you liked it in the comment section below. And for people who didn't like it, I want to know why you didn't like it, all right? And we can all do this and have respectful opinions, right? Like we don't have to sit here and freaking like bash each other and be like, oh, you're stupid for thinking this way, which honestly is what my Andor videos ended up kind of turning into, because I would have an opinion and then my entire comment section would just go AWOL and be like, oh, you know, obviously there were people that were respectful, but there were a lot of people that were like, oh, dude, you don't know anything about storytelling and your opinions are stupid and this, that, and the other, right? It's like, that's not how normal conversations work. I can sit there and go, oh, you know what? I really enjoyed this episode. You know, here are some of the things that I liked. I like this. I like this. I like this. Maybe we could have done a little bit different with this, but overall, I still really liked this. And the other person can be like, oh, you know, that's cool, man. I said, you know, look, here are some of the things that I didn't like about the episode. I didn't like the way this went. I didn't like the way they did this or did that. You know, I definitely liked this part, but I think we could have done something different here. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, man, I see where you're coming from. Like, I definitely think they could have done something here, but, you know, I think maybe I disagree a little bit. I think what they did here was fine. But see, like, that's how normal conversations work. And I feel like that can be done on social media, but I feel like a lot of times people are just like constantly at each other's throats when it comes to this stuff. And I don't think there's any reason for it. It's like me and my brother just had a conversation on the phone, and it's like none of us were bashing each other for our opinions. Because for him, he didn't like the episode, and he, you know, talked about why, and I talked about why I did like the episode. It's like, that's how normal people talk. Not everyone is trying to rip each other's throats out when it comes to their opinions. And there was a moment in this episode where I'm like, everything is going like too good for the Bad Batch right now. Like when I say too good, meaning just like everyone's having a good time and everyone's having fun. I'm like, this is too good to be true. Like what's about to happen? And I had a gut feeling it was going to be the Empire that showed up. But it wasn't the Empire. The enemy in this episode, it was what, like a tsunami? What I appreciated about it is that it posed a different threat in this episode, like from what we're used to seeing, right? Because a lot of the times, the enemies that we face in Star Wars, they're all people, right? Like that's always the villain. But in this case, the villain was kind of nature, right? Do I want this for every episode? No, but I think in one singular episode, I thought it was fine. I did like the line real quickly that Omega said, the ocean never felt like this for me before. And this is going back to where everybody's all happy and having fun, because Omega was surrounded by water her whole life, you know, but here it was very different. Like, you know, a lot of times on Camino, like you'll have all those storms and stuff, something kind of similar, right, to what happened in this episode. But here it's like the waters were more peaceful. Everything felt different. And it was kind of the vibe that you get when the episode starts too. Like the minute you come here, I'm like, oh, this feels like a very peaceful place. And again, I think like for a singular episode, like I didn't mind it. I actually liked it. Okay, but going back to this sea surge thing, right? And they have to get all the people out of Lower Pabu, right? Because it's gonna destroy everything. Tech and the pirate lady help people with ladders, right? It gets more people up quicker, because otherwise if they would have just kept having people walk up those, rails or whatever, it's like it wasn't gonna get everybody up in time, so they started having people climb the ladders. Hunter ends up saving Omega and Leanna. Wrecker was helping the mayor get up and that elderly man as well, so everyone was kind of playing their roles in this episode. And honestly, you guys, I think if I had to choose a Bad Batch member of the week, we'll get into our Bad Batch member of the week segment. And I think it's kind of a tie for me this week, because I was kind of thinking about like, okay, who could this go to? And I'm like, all right, I think Wrecker is definitely one for me, just because Wrecker made me laugh so many times in this episode, just with things he was saying, because Wrecker's my guy. And I wish he would have had more to do in this season. I know like he had a lot of times to shine in season 1, and more so than other characters did. So I get it's all about taking turns, because this season has been very tech heavy. Even in this episode, like he isn't my Bad Batch member of the week this week, but Tech even in this episode too stood out, and he's really stood out since the start of season 2. But my other Bad Batch member for this week, you guys, has to go to Hunter. Hunter just, again, with seeing Hunter happy, it was definitely different, because Hunter's usually like, the dark and broody type, I guess, as Sid would call him, which, speaking of Sid, they talked with her earlier, and I was like, please don't go back to her. Like, it's been 20 rotations, just ignore her, please. But Hunter, we don't usually see him happy that much, it feels like. In this episode, it felt like we very much got to see him in that spot. But then, like, the way his expression changed when he saw all of those creatures running, what are they called? Moonyas, they're called. Like these green, almost like lemur-looking type creatures, and seeing them run off, and it was like, okay, hold on, something's not right, something's coming. And like Hunter usually has that ability, right, to sense stuff like that when it comes to nature, or like where people are going. Like he has that tracking ability, and then to also make the decision at the end, like, we're gonna stay and help you, which I'm sure everybody was thrilled about when they heard that. And like, oh great, another episode of this. But to be fair, here's what I think is gonna happen. I think if next episode is about them on Pabu, next week it's either going to be about the Bad Batch still on Pabu, or it's going to be about Echo and Rex. I don't think they're going to do a crosshair episode, because they just did that. But I think even if it is about them on Pabu, or even if like we start the season, the 2-part finale with them on Pabu, they're going to end up leaving. Just because like I got that feeling like something's going to happen that they're going to hear about, or someone's going to call out to them for help, and then they're going to have to leave. But maybe like there's a little bit of a time jump in there, because I mean, we've seen a time jump in Bad Batch before, right? Between seasons 1 and 2. And obviously there's some small time jumps in between episodes. So maybe that's what we get here, right? It's just like, okay, the next time we go to them, like it's been like a couple weeks or whatever, they've got Pabu back to normal, and now they can leave and go off and do something else. Okay, you guys, that's going to wrap us up for this week. So make sure to let me know in the comments below whether you liked the episode, whether you didn't like the episode. Just remember, you guys, be respectful of everyone's opinions. And that, I mean, it goes for every video, but just I'm emphasizing it more here because I have a gut feeling, again, given I've seen the reaction for this episode, and I've seen a lot of people don't like it, and people are entitled to not like that episode. But that being said, people are also entitled to like the episode as well. So just remember to be respectful, be courteous to others, and make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel. I will see you guys next time.